Hello juniors, and welcome back to programming. For this video, we're going to be going over project 2 and how you actually complete the project. So we have the video, which is the one you're watching currently. Then we have the submission page, which has the activity prompt linked in it. And then we have some external links that you can use if you need help. So for this project, we're going to be doing our second project, which is conversion. So before we get into the actual project, let's review the programming process. So remember our process, it's objective, pseudocode, and then code. Objective is a one-sentence summary that tells the user what the program is supposed to do, and then it has a to-do list of all the things we need to complete. Then the pseudocode is a more in-depth to-do list that is structured like the program. And then the code is the actual code of the program. Now, remember for our projects, we give you all these different pieces. So we give you the objective, we give you a section that covers what you need to know, then we give you a task, and then we give you the pseudocode. So sometimes we'll provide the pseudocode, and we suggest that you copy paste the pseudocode into your module and complete the tasks below the comments, just like you would do in the drills. You can delete the comments once you've completed them. And if you follow all these comments, you should end up with a fully functional program. So for our project 2, it's conversion. And here is all of the pieces that I was just talking about. So first, let's go over the objective. The objective is to make a program that can complete different conversions. The tasks to complete are down here. So first, we need to have the user input a number of miles. Then we're going to convert the miles into yards, feet, and inches. Then we're going to print out each of the conversions with a simple statement. So an example of a simple statement is insert miles converts to insert feet. So these will be variables, as you can tell by the camel casing, and we'll put them in to our print statement so that it prints out what the conversions are. So basically, we want them to input a number of miles, and our program will tell the person how many feet are in that many miles, or how many yards are in that many miles, or how many inches are in that many miles. So we'll be converting miles to yards, feet, and inches. So for need to knows, you'll need to have a complete understanding of mathematical and comparison operators, and then you'll also need to understand string. So this is a function. Here's a link to this website that gives you more information on it if it doesn't make sense to you, but we're going to go over it right now. So we're going to navigate to our conversion folder. I'm going to make a new file. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to make the PyDev module string. Okay. So basically, the way this works is that whatever you put between the parentheses will be turned into a string. So to understand this, we need to understand our different variables. So remember, we have a bunch of different types of variables, but we have int variables, which are numbers, and then string variables, which are text. And we can tell the difference between these two things by whether or not it has quotations around it. So we know this is a string variable because it's got quotations, and we know that this isn't a string variable because it doesn't, and it is color coded for us. But note that if we change this int var to this 235, this is a string, this is an integer. Just by adding these quotations, we are making it an integer. Now this string function allows us to turn integers into strings. Now you may be wondering, why is this helpful? Well, when we go to print stuff, if we print, let's make this, actually, let's change our string var into the exact same thing, 235. Okay, I'm going to delete that. So let's say that we wanted to print int var. If we just print it like so, and then we go to run as Python run, it'll print 235 because it can print integer variables. But if we try to do something like the integer is, and then put them together and print them as one thing, it doesn't work. It'll throw an error and it says can only concatenate strings. So it can't concatenate, it can't combine together this int var with this string data that we have right here. And so there's just no way to print these two things together, except if we add the string function. What this function does is it turns this int var into a string. And then when you print it, it prints out the same data just as a string. So, but notice if we did this, print the integer is plus string var. Strings and strings can be concatenated together. You can see that because this is a string and this is a string, and it printed with no problem. The only problem comes in is when we're trying to concatenate integers with strings, it doesn't work. So what we do is we use this string function to convert them into strings. So let's go through a couple more examples. So if we have x equals 3, and now if we make string x equals string strx, x would be an integer, but string x would be a string with the character 3 inside of it. So this function is helpful when trying to add integer data to string data so you can make it into one big thing. So let's say we have apples, a variable called apples, and we make it 3. And then we have a string, and that's equal that in the string we put I have this many apples. Now we can concatenate these together. Normally we wouldn't be able to if we just do string plus apples and we run this, an error is thrown because you can't concatenate integers and strings. So we turn this into a string by putting the string function around it, run it. Oh, we never printed sentence. So if we print sentence and run it, now we see I have this many apples and it concatenates correctly. So basically in this first example, I just put this part inside of the print statement instead of storing it in a variable. So this is just like a quicker version of doing this. In our project, it's going to be a little bit more complex. We're going to have this miles variable, and I'm just going to put 2 as the variable. And then if we convert that into feet, I don't know the exact conversion, but I'm just going to put 2,000 just to have a number there. And in our thing, we want to, if we look at this example sentences on our activity prompt, we need to do mile int converts to feet int and then add feet. So we're going to have to do a lot of pluses. We're going to have to do miles plus, and if we go back to this, converts to, and remember to add the spaces, converts to plus feet plus, and then we just had the feet and period because that's all it has at the end. So now if we try to run this, we know what's going to happen. It's not going to work because it cannot add integers and strings. So for our project, we're going to add these string functions around our different variables so that it can actually print. And then so in our thing, it'll print 2 miles, and we might even want to add miles to this just so that it makes more sense. 2 miles converts to that many feet. So 2 miles converts to 2,000 feet. So that's what you need to understand for string. All it does is convert any type of variable, an integer, a Boolean, I don't know how it works with lists, but you can test it out if you want. But all it does is converts whatever variable you put in here, and it converts it into a string. So for integers, since integers are these nice numbers, it just makes them into strings, basically by adding quotations around it. So your task is to code the project using the objective and pseudocode given to you. So you have this objective up here. It tells you what you're doing. What is the goal of this program? You must also put a starting multi-line comment on the top of your program that says what your program does, so our objective, and who the author is. So let's go through this process of making the project. You're going to make a PyDev project, this project folder. So go File, New, PyDev project, and you'll name it Conversion. I already have one right here, so I'm going to click this. Then you're going to, next up, make a new PyDev module. So you're going to go File, New, make sure you're clicked on this on the right project, File, New, PyDev module, and then you'll name it Conversion as well, just like it says right here. So I already have one, so I'm actually going to make a new one called New Conversion. So you'll make the starting comment, you'll put the objective, the one sentence summary, and then you'll put your author, which I am Michael. Then what you're going to do is copy and paste. So that was writing the starting comment. Then you're going to copy and paste the pseudocode. So you got your pseudocode right here. And go here, copy it all, and paste it into your code. Then you're going to code the project. So you're going to go through and look at these different comments. They're broken up into the different sections, and you can do them right below it. So it says use input. You've used input in the last project. So now you're going to use it to get the number of miles from the user, and then store that in an int variable called miles. Then you're going to convert the miles to yards using this calculation. Then you're going to store that in a variable called yards. So it'll be like yards equals miles times 1760. Because there is, for every 1 mile, there's 1,760 yards. So miles times 760, and then you'll print blank miles blank equals yards blank, or equals blank yards. So this many miles equals this many yards. Then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to convert miles to feet. 1 mile is about 5,280 feet, and print out the same sentence, only you'll say this many miles converts to this many feet. And then you'll do the same thing with inches. You'll convert miles to inches and print out a simple statement. Then, after you get all of that done, you're going to run the project and check for bugs. So you can check this by looking for these red lines. So this is a common error. It's telling me you haven't made a variable miles yet. That's because I didn't input the user's text, but you will have done this, so you shouldn't get that error. But red lines are good ways of checking that there's errors. But if you run it, you'll find out whether there's an error. And then you're going to submit the project on GitHub following the same GitHub submission progress that you've done. So again, for points, you're going to have 1 point for the starting comment, 1 point for having each conversion working. So there's 3 conversions, 3 points total. 1 point for the whole project being able to run. That means that there's no bugs and that it works correctly. And then 1 point for the project being submitted to GitHub correctly. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me or your instructor. But that is all you're doing for today. You're just for this video, you're just completing that and understanding this string function. All right, juniors, I will see you later.